Hey guys, Bidu here to tell you about the latest from Wolves at the Gate, Wasteland, on May 30th on Solid State Records. The album has 13 tracks, 36 minutes in length, and this is the band's 6th full-length studio album. They are an American metalcore band. When you look at the design of this record, you can approach this album from a glass is half full or a glass is half empty. If you're the glass is half empty kind of person, you're going to look at the album, you're going to look at the design and the structure, you're going to see a lot of interludes, and you're going to say that this album doesn't have a lot of meat on the bone. There's not a lot of songs, and the songs are quick. So without the interludes, perhaps you would end up with an EP, not a full-length record. So you may have that view that the band just added all of these interludes in order to extend the duration of the album. I think that's a fair take to have, because I could see that happening on an album format like this. I'm more in the camp of the glass is half full. And when I look at that, two ideas come to mind. First is having these interludes makes the fluidity of the album more seamless. It's a record that from the time you press play to the time it finishes, you don't really notice it moving. It just takes you along for this continuous ride across all 13 tracks. The addition to that is that if you decide to listen to the songs individually, you're not going to have the interludes setting them up. So you're able to get the most out of the song in the quickest way possible, which is a great thing to have because you're not burdening the listener with elements that may not appeal to the listener at that specific time. So if you're looking at songs on an individual basis, trimming a little bit of that fat makes the songs more impactful, more aggressive, more intense, and therefore increasing the overall playability of those individual tracks. Setting those up as individual interludes connected in the overall structure also gives playability to the overall record. So it almost becomes a win-win situation if you decide to look at this from a glass half full perspective. Once you get into the sound of the album, this is a very modern metalcore sounding album. It uses the synths to create not just a backdrop and atmosphere, but to really connect the sound and give the sound a little bit more volume, a little bit more substance, definitely a little bit more texture. But it's still a very guitar-centric, it's still a very guitar-focused record. We're starting to lose a little bit of that in that more modern metalcore sound. These guys were able to bring that modern aspect into the fold on this record, but not forgetting the importance of the guitar sound, the heaviness, the melodies, the grooviness, and what those guitars can really offer as far as a more substantial sound experience all around. And that's exactly how this album plays out. When you're listening to it, you can hear the synths, you can hear the impact that they have on the songs, you can feel the texture that they give to the tracks. You could even say that there's definitely an impact in the atmosphere and vibe of the songs coming out of that synth sound. But that synth sound is not overpowering. It's just another layer in the overall sound that the record has. I felt like the drums and guitars together played a more important role. The guitars even more so than the drums, but together both played a very important role in creating a very dynamic experience, heavy, melodic, melancholic, groovy at times. All of these different ideas, all of these different textures really defined by the guitar sound first and foremost, and then accompanied by a great drum sound that felt very full, very robust, which also helped some of the size of the tracks. Obviously, the synth elements also help with the size of the songs. They help create not only a more robust soundscape, but a song that feels more complete, especially when it comes to the more modern metalcore experience. But I have to say the drums emphasize that experience and they emphasize that overall vibe that the tracks have with that much larger sound, more robust overall outcome. Once you get to the vocals, the clean vocals on this record are haunting. Phenomenal. I love the clean vocals on this album. And I love also how they were used to set up the harsher vocals and set up a little bit more of the aggressive side of this record. Because this album really has a yin and a yang, both on a sound perspective, but also on a vocal perspective. It's really about creating a sense of melancholy and hauntiness as far as what's being given, almost eerie at times to a certain degree. And then it's also about bringing the frustrations, the anger, the intensity that's building up on inside and giving it a positive outburst or a positive outlet for it to be expressed. This album is really about that combination of those two worlds, and not just the combination of them, but how they interact with one another and how one can get the best off the other, and that was the dynamic vocally throughout the entire record, which I thought was extremely interesting, working really well and really elevating the overall quality of the album. Because in certain songs, while you may have some predictable moments from a structural standpoint, from a soundscape standpoint, from how the keyboards, the synths are being used, all of that at times feels like you've been there before. There's not a lot that you can do to surprise the listener. But as far as the vocals are concerned, while you can expect those two styles to be there, the way they feed off of one another and the way they set up one another, I thought that was done with a lot of clarity, with a lot of thought process behind it, and definitely elevates the album as a whole. As far as favorite songs goes, I want to start off with the Wasteland Pain. It's a heavy, intense track with great drum sound, and then complemented by heavy guitars on it. The guitars really offering this heavy modern sound to it that are enhanced by those synthesizer sounds that really help define the atmosphere of the track. But it's a song that has a lot of aggression, that has an aggressive experience to it, and the vocals add a lot of dynamics to the way the track moves. Using the clean vocals to set up the heavier vocals works really well in this song, and it gives the track not just an aggressive vibe, it gives the song almost a very live experience in terms of what you could expect from a song like this. Then you have a track like Smoke, more bouncy, hookier, especially the chorus. Very, very hooky chorus, and the chorus really helps lighten up the mood of the song, but keeping some of the heavier guitars around also helps the chorus not completely become distorted from what the overall song composition is all about. The verses definitely more dynamic, both on a musical sense but also on a vocal sense, offering some moments of calm and reprieve, but still creating the right ebbs and flows. And then you have that chorus that really stands out, that really comes out and offers this immediate impact as far as the song is concerned. So at times it feels like the track has a lot of inconsistencies, but if there is one consistency, it's the overall intensity that it offers. Last but definitely not least, Memento Mori. This to me is the ballad of the record. It's a really mellow track. There are some heavier portions to the song, but this to me is the ballad of the album. It has a lot of melancholy built into the sound, into the guitars, into the way those guitars move in a more slower experience, but even in the way the vocals interact with the track. Everything about this song really screams emotion. It's a very emotionally driven song, so even in its heavier moments it still feels very emotional. And because of that, and the overall aspect of having a more stripped down sound at times, a more cool, collective, introspective experience, definitely creates more of a ballad style approach as far as this song is concerned. This is it, Wolves at the Gate, Wasteland, out May 30th on Solid State Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.